Welcome guys, in this video we're going to talk about delegates. Delegates are useful because they allow us to wrap function calls and they play a big role in graphical programming. Okay, but we are not doing graphical programming, just regular programming with the command prompt, so we're going to build a simple delegate so you can see how it operates. So using system here, now we're going to say namespace, simple as always. Now we're going to declare a new type, which is the delegate. Okay, delegate, and then the return type and del and then double x like this. Okay, and close out with a semicolon. So the delegate is a keyword. Double means is of course the return type, and then it takes a double. Okay, but a delegate is really a function wrapper. In other words, it allows us to call functions through it. Okay, I'll take a look at the action in a minute. So let's make a class program here. That'll do. Within it we're going to define public double square as a method, and then double I. Now we're going to say return and then I times I, like that. So what we're going to do now is wrap a call to this using static void main. Now you're going to say program, okay, new prog, that'll do for our purposes, just camel case it, and let's make a new program here. And now you're going to say del, my del equals, and now you're going to say new del, and this takes, see where it says target, that means it targets a particular function. So in our case you're going to say new prog dot, and then you can say here square. Okay, so in other words, my del is a delegate for the squaring function. Okay, in graphical programming in Windows this becomes extremely important because events are handled using mechanisms like this. Okay, so different kinds. Alright, so here you're going to say now double and then y equals and then double dot parse, so we read a value console.read line. So read that from the user, and now we're going to say console.write line and then my del, and then specify a value to be passed in there like that. And now we're going to say console.read line, say. So that'll do. A read key or read for our purposes, remember, only to keep the window open, does not matter. So this code is relatively simple. Let's give it a build. Let's go debug and step into here. At first you can see new prog, my del, and y. New prog and my del. As you can see, those are reference types because their values by default are null. Alright, so now we're going to make a new program. So that's the value. You're going to make a new delegate. So now notice if you expand my del, and you look here, as you can see, it says method equals and then double square double. Okay, so my del is pointing to that method whose name is square. It returns a double and then accepts a double. Okay. Alright, so let's input some value here, 67, hit enter. Read that value into y. And then notice that calling my del y simply delegates the call over to square, because that's what my delegate is. Function wrapper. It wraps a function call essentially, and then shows you the square 4489. That's the square of 67. There you go. So what you have just learned is a basic delegate. Notice this is a separate type. Okay, it wraps a function call like this one here, and use that with this line right here where you write del, my del equals new del, and then you specify the function to be called through this delegate. Okay, and to call the delegate simply means to write the name and then specify some value, but ultimately, of course, that value will be passed into new prog.square anyway, into that function, into that method. And that is it. So thanks very much, and I'll see you in another video.